Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the inaugural edition of Real Stocks. Real Stocks is a spin-off of my cryptocurrency channel, Real Crypto, where I talk all things cryptocurrency, but mainly lately it's been about Bitcoin and chart trading and investing. Now, stocks are a little bit different, okay? Within cryptocurrencies, if you know how to trade Bitcoin, you can pretty much gauge the direction of the rest of the market. It is not that way in stocks, however. Stocks have a much wider and a much broader investment base. They have much broader investment opportunities. There's different sectors. There's lots of things to take into account. One of them is the indices. Okay, so here we're looking at the QQQ. This is an ETF of the NASDAQ, and it represents it quite well, actually. It represents the NASDAQ quite well. Usually follows it pretty much in lockstep. Not tit for tat there, but pretty close. So what's been happening lately is we came to a high, and then we started to see increased volume here just a little bit, and then we started to sell off. Now this little pattern up here, there's nothing specific about this pattern in terms of a chart pattern, but just the price action here was not very good. I actually sold majority of my holdings on the very early part of this day. After this particular day right here, wasn't too happy with the price action here, and many of the leading stocks had very similar bearish price action. So I liquidated my positions pretty much just before the major market meltdown. So it melted down. Many leading stocks just went haywire. Okay, we'll look at a couple of those, and then we came right back. And I was a little timid buying this. I wanted to buy here actually. I wanted to buy the TQQQ here. That is triple of this ETF, and I'll explain what that is in a minute. I wanted to buy that here, but I actually was a little bit too timid. Trying to protect my capital. I just had some massive gains in the market, and I really don't feel like letting that evaporate, so I decided to hold on for some greener pastures, and I did a pretty good job. So I held on. I didn't buy here. We continued right up here towards the highs. Like, look at that. We came pretty much right there. I mean, within the same dollar of the highs before we decided to begin a little bit of a sell-off again. Came back and retested the 50-day, went up on higher volume. Now we're going up again. So overall, this is a very good price action. So we have a test of the 200-day down here and this trend line. Then we come up and bounce up towards highs, come down, have a test at the 50-day, and then we go right back up. So far so good. So far so good. This price oscillation can continue probably for the next week, maybe 2 or 3, possibly a month or so. We'll have to see if we can continue making higher lows, then maybe we can slowly start to move our way higher again overall in the indices here. Okay, so on to some of the stocks that I'm looking at. So first one's going to be BlackLine. If I remember right, this is a cloud services provider for ISPs. And BlackLine here is a stock that I actually bought breaking right out of this little pattern here, coming out of this strangely shaped base. It was very deep, actually. It's a very deep base, about 28%. Not really a cup with a handle base, not really a flat base, not really a double bottom base, but it is a big base nonetheless, especially if you zoom out to the weekly chart and consider the fact that it is basically an IPO. Okay, it IPO'd over here back in late 2016 in October. October 2016, came up, had a very nice run, went from 20 to 40, so it doubled. All right, came and pulled back 33%. Now it's breaking out into all-time highs, and the breakout so far has been very good. There's some price action here that's a little atypical. If you remember a little bit ago, I mentioned this isn't quite a typical base, but this action here is something called straight up off the bottom. What that indicates is that off the bottom of these patterns, now this isn't really a low, technically this should be lower, but the volume signature is very indicative of a straight up off the bottom move. Straight up off the bottom is extreme buying all the way through pretty much all price levels. Maybe one pause, maybe 2 small pauses, but generally just extreme volume. And as you can see here, this volume just increases. We have 2 really nice days of really clean volume. So we have this day of earnings. This is the gap the next day with the big volume, and this is a nice follow-through day. Pretty much breaking all support levels. breaking right into new highs, consolidated, and then continued again. And I pretty much bought, I think I bought this day, actually right here I think is where I bought, right about there, about the $42 level. So pretty cool here. And something interesting about this price action, holding the 10-day very well, and something that you really want to see, I have the 10-day moving average, the 50-day moving average, and the 200-day moving average all diverging here, which is really what you want to see. Ideally, you want to see this divergence, and this divergence should hopefully continue this uptrend for many months to come. All right, so that's BL BlackLine for you right there. Now, in terms of an entry, if you guys are trying to time some entries off of these, this is a little extended. If you're going to buy this, I would actually wait for it to pull back, even towards the bottom part. Let me zoom back in. Even towards the bottom part of this pattern, closer to where I bought. I actually bought at a decently extended point. You don't want to buy really 5% past the base. Reason being is because you run the risk of being whipped around, and that's not good general trading strategy. So I bought within about 5%, but up here you're up about 10%. So if you can buy down here closer to 5%, the closer to 5% the better. All right, the closer to 5% the better, but you want to buy if it spikes low, if you want to get involved with something like this. But as always, you need to do your own due diligence. You need to look at the stock, ascertain if it fits your portfolio, have a timeline and a plan in place. So let's look at some of the other ones I'm in. I'm actually in Netflix. Let's go ahead and maximize Netflix here for you. All right. Loving me some Netflix. Okay, so I bought Netflix on this breakout right here, a little bit high. I should have bought it earlier in the day. I did not. We all make mistakes. What you see here is a very nice long base and then a very good breakout right at the beginning of the year. I wish I would have bought right here. You know, it really wasn't on my radar. I know a good question is, how can Netflix not be on your radar? Well, it just wasn't. I don't really have a great explanation, but it wasn't. But we had a huge gap up off of earnings, and then we came back, tested, formed a little kind of a cup with handle base. This is not a typical cup with handle base. It's too short, actually. It's very short to be a cup with handle base. Your typical cup with handle base should be at least 7 weeks long. If you go to the weekly chart, I think this is like a 4, maybe a 5-week base. Come on. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4-week base, and then we break out. So this really isn't a base. I wouldn't even, this is a little too deep to be a flat base, a little too short to be a cup base. It's kind of a nothing base. But if you go down to the daily, here, the price action is good enough for me to consider an entry, as well as the fact that, I mean, most recently, I bought here, but these past 2 days have just been phenomenal, and hopefully they will sustain this rally into the foreseeable future. And with the triple Qs looking as good as they do, then I can foresee Netflix going much higher from here. In fact, my target is about $343 is about my target right there in Netflix. So a very good price action here. Now I'm going to look at Twitter. Oh, Twitter. Twitter broke my heart. I should say I broke my heart. It's not Twitter's fault. It's my fault. My Twitter piqued my interest. Let's back out here, guys. So here's an all-time chart of Twitter. Okay, let's wrap our heads around this for a minute. So Twitter IPOs, runs up, and then just proceeds with this massive sell-off over several years. I mean, these are years. 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. We're 3.5, almost 4 years in through a big bear market in Twitter. And then you start to see this big sideways action for the prior year, and then it starts to curl up. Notice it starts to curl up. You see a lot more green than red. If you notice, it was really red. It was red, mixed, red, mixed, green, red. Now it's green again. And we're seeing some definite price appreciation. We're actually taking out levels. This thing had lower highs all over the place. Lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. Now we have, guess what? Now we have a test of this high, and we have a higher high in place. We've even taken out a previous high again. We've taken out 2 highs. This stock is on the move, ladies and gentlemen. This stock is on the move. So I actually identified an opportunity in Twitter that is actually still there. It's actually still there for just a crazy, insane price appreciation in Twitter. I actually believe it's going to go back to the IPO high and probably back towards the all-time high. Okay, we're pretty close to the IPO high. We're only about, looks like $7 away from the IPO high. We get one or two more good pumps in Twitter, which it looks like we're about to get, and we're probably going to get back up here towards this IPO high. Now there is a definite case that we could be up here above 50 bucks. We definitely could be here above 50 bucks, in which case it would make my position probably worth in upwards of 400 to 600% up from where I am today. But let me explain to you why I'm a little upset about myself in this trade. So I actually, these earnings here caught my eye in Twitter right here. These earnings caught my eye, and then they started to consolidate and started to run higher. And then we had these two big green days out of the middle of nowhere right there. Okay, these two big green days really caught my interest, and I started looking at Twitter and I started looking at the stock, and I took an options position in Twitter here at a very cheap premium, and then the market started to sell off actually overall. So I did close out my position, and I never did re-enter due to earnings. That was actually a mistake, not due to the fact. How do I put this? I do not like to hold through earnings. Earnings are a gamble, but this particular investment criteria, or not a criteria, but this particular investment hypothesis was not based on the next 20% move in the stock. This was based on a huge macro move and a shift in Twitter's fundamentals from being a company that loses money and doesn't know how to run a business into a company that does know how to run a business and is beginning to become profitable. And I identified a 3,000% opportunity in Twitter. A 3,000% opportunity in Twitter. That is not a joke. That is not a joke. So I took a position. I think at the time it was a 5% position of my portfolio, which would have basically doubled my entire account off of that 5%, if I remember the math correctly. And I was actually shaken out of this position due to this action, due to this downside action here. And also because of earnings. When it started going back up, I didn't buy in because of earnings. And that was a big mistake on my part, a huge mistake. I regret that to this day. Now, the opportunity still exists. I don't know what the percentage is at this particular moment in time, but when I was accumulating my position, it was about 1,000% gain. So I bet about 10% of my account, so I could still double it, but I had to risk more. I had to risk more of my account to actually get not even the same kind of reward. But I still believe in the thesis. The price action is proving me correct, because based on earnings here, we gapped up massive. We gapped up huge. And then we came down. I still didn't enter my position here, which was a mistake, but I did enter into my position. I had some here, I bought some here, and I bought some here, and I actually added today a little bit earlier. I think it was right around just before the $34 level is where I added my position back. So I'm pretty good in Twitter now. I believe this thesis going forward, and based on the volume action, I would anticipate Twitter getting up to $40 relatively soon. Relatively soon. All right, so that's kind of Twitter for you. And those are my positions as of right now. I'm looking at Square is the one that I'm looking at to get into. I haven't taken a position yet. Although I'm really looking at this trade. This particular trade has about a 150% gain on the table if it has a 40% move, which is a little aggressive. Most of my targets, I don't take 40% targets. I actually take 20% targets. However, this is such a nice chart. Look at this chart, guys. This is such a nice chart. You have a pretty nice cup here, a very deep handle. Now, keep in mind the market went into a correction during this phase, so I can't. I have to take that into account. I have to take this into account. Now, while this is a much deeper correction in the handle aspect of the pattern than I would like, the market was in a corrective phase here where it was not here. So you have to kind of give that give the pattern a little bit of leeway. And this is looking excellent for a really good move. And the volume today was just phenomenal. I mean, this volume, you can't argue with this volume. I didn't take a position today. I was really looking all day long to take a position. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Looking at the chart, most of the days here have some kind of a pullback. So I would expect something of a pullback in the morning maybe, and I'm going to look to enter the position tomorrow morning. But we're breaking out right to all-time highs here, ladies and gentlemen. This thing's just going to rock it. I think Square is just going to rock it. It's doing some good things overall in its business. It's involved in the crypto space in a very reasonable and manageable manner, and I believe it is going to be profitable for them. And so all this volume in here just reeks of institutional buying. And man, I'm just licking my chops to get in on this one. I'm kind of upset that I didn't notice it or buy it earlier in the day. Now, Square's even been on my radar for a little while. I just never looked at the chart. And you know, it's free to look at charts, and sometimes I don't know why, I just don't. I don't really know why sometimes, but either way, it's on my radar now. I've got a trade set up, and looking to be super profitable. This 40% move, like I said, should yield me about 150%. If you guys wonder how I'm getting those kind of good returns, I am trading options. I have a specific options trading strategy that I trade in my stocks that are actually make stocks trade like cryptos, to be quite frank with you, ladies and gentlemen. In that BL stock, in this BL one, I'm already up 100% in my options, and the stock's only up 5%. That's not a joke. That's not a joke at all. So I'll tell you why. Let me show you. Okay, so BL, we got the April. I think I'm in the April 45s. I'm in the April 45s. They're at right now, looks like $1. If you take the middle here, they're at $1.80. So I'm up 80% right now. I'm up 80% in these right now. I bought these at $1. And that was about 4 days ago. And I can actually show you that if you go back here. I'm not going to show you my trading account, but I can go to this thing called ThinkBack and Thinkorswim. If you don't know anything about the Thinkorswim platform, it's pretty powerful. I really like it. That's why I'm using it. So I can pick a day, which would be the 27th. I'm going to pick the day right here. I'm going to go to the April. It's going to give me every closing option price. So the close on that day was $1.50 and $1.05. My entry was $1 on that day. My entry was $1. So that was the close. This is the price as of the close. Okay, I was 50% up at the end of the day. So, you know, doing your homework, doing due diligence on these stocks, and really having an understanding of, I mean, there's a lot that goes into these trades, to be quite frank with you. That's why I'm not divulging my entire strategy. I don't want you guys to take undue risk on. But when you understand the strategy and have the due diligence behind these stocks and these holdings and have the patience to let the market come to you, and like I said with my triple Qs, here, I didn't re-enter the market, okay, because I wasn't sure. Okay, I wasn't 100% sure. I didn't see the price patterns that were really showing me that things were going to work out. Okay, I just didn't see it. Now, Netflix was probably the main reason why I got back in the market, and that BL stock, and that BL as well. But BL is a much smaller name than Netflix. When Netflix formed this, when Netflix came in and formed this little high pattern here, or I'm sorry, here, when it formed this little really high, tight kind of cup with handle pattern, okay, I pretty much knew at that point. And then this close was excellent for me. Even though the volume was lower, it did give me a lot of confidence to buy the following day and hold through these pullbacks right here, and hold through these pullbacks to get us to where we are today. So I took the positions because one of the leading stocks in the market is doing well. So I know I threw a lot at you guys. I don't know if you guys came from the crypto space or not. And this is a long video, but there's a lot to talk about with stocks. There's a lot that goes into these. And I can't just talk about, in cryptos, I can talk about Bitcoin. In stocks, you have to talk about a multitude of things. It's not a simple puzzle, but it is definitely a puzzle worth putting together. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me. I hope you appreciated, or I hope you liked that. I don't know if appreciation is a word. I hope you enjoyed that. So this is a different channel. Please subscribe to this channel. I don't know exactly when I'll be doing updates, but I will be doing them frequently as things roll out and identifying other stocks that I'm looking at, and even ones that I may not take positions in that have promise. So thank you for joining me, guys. I will see you next time.